All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2014 National Football Signing Day. First off, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Joe Reinsch. I'm the Sports Information Director. I've got Victor Santa Cruz, APU football head coach. And we'll also hear from Ben Buys, who's running backs coach and recruiting coordinator for the football team. I just want to welcome those of you watching here, those of you watching from home. If you have questions, as you think of them throughout the press conference, we'll have a question and answer session at the end. Anyone, if you're in the audience, don't want to ask it verbally, or you're home watching, you can tweet your question with the hashtag APU Signing Day, and we will get to those questions as well. I've seen one question on there already, so we'll have those later on. I know you all want to hear from the 2013 GNAC Coach of the Year, Victor Santa Cruz. Before we do that, I'm going to talk a little bit about the season, some of the accomplishments on the field. In our second season of NCAA Division II competition. They were 10-2 this year. It was the third 10-win season in program history. First 10-win season since 2004. Won the outright GNAC championship by a 2-game margin. First conference title in program history. And the NCAA Victory Bowl championship. Azusa Pacific produced GNAC Coach of the Year, Victor Santa Cruz. Also the GNAC Offensive Player of the Year, Taru Watson, who will be returning for his senior year next year. And also GNAC Defensive Player of the Year, Tyler Thornton, who will also be back next year. Also a great year for Cougar alumni. Luke Marcourt, former offensive lineman, signed a professional contract with the San Francisco 49ers, so we want to honor him. And then also David Canales, another former Azusa Pacific player, 4-year player, wide receiver. He's an assistant quarterback coach for the Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks. So great year for Cougar football, on the field, off the field, current players, alumni, and that brings us to today for signing day. Last year, I looked at last year's press conference and thinking about what football was going to address, and some of the things Coach Santa Cruz identified as needs were offensive line, the secondary, and situational players who could be great in space. In the Central Washington game up in Ellensburg, Washington, you had C.J. Broussard with a 50-yard interception return for a touchdown. That opened the scoring. You had Tarek Miles with a 92-yard kickoff return, and that gave the Cougars the lead for good. And APU's offense just ran 3 offensive plays in the whole first half until the final minute. Still managed to go into halftime with the lead. When the offense did finally get on the field quite a bit in the second half, they had another freshman starting on the offensive line at right guard, Ahmad Sunda. And he was blocking for Taru Watson. Ended up being a 24-17 victory. Without that victory, APU would lose the tiebreaker to Central Washington, wouldn't have the outright GNAC title, and those were 3 freshmen that we announced last year at this event. So I have one quote from Victor last year at the press conference, and I'll finish with that before we introduce him. And he said, "Where we're at as a program is nowhere near the top. We're where we're going to be. We're not asking for permission to become a national champion and become a dominant Division II program. This is one of the days we take another step closer to achieving that level. And with that status, we're not looking to arrive. We're looking to continue to grow. And when we hit that standard, we're going to push that barrier farther beyond." So, ladies and gentlemen, GNAC Coach of the Year, Victor Santa Cruz.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to start off by saying thank you, Joe, for the hard work you do and everything of setting it up. I really want to thank the administration for making this all possible, valuing football at this university as it led by Dr. John Wallace. I'd like to thank the compliance committee. Obviously, being an NCAA program, there's a lot that goes into compliance, doing things exactly right. I'd like to thank Gary Pine and our whole athletic department for all their support. I'd also like to thank all the other stakeholders out there in this university, but particularly the academic side of it. Dr. Mark Stanton, Dr. Victor Boughton. It's easy to brag on the recruiting trail about this university. We've got an amazing university to talk about. When we go into the homes of these fine athletes, to be able to look at their guardians and their parents, their grandparents in the eye, and let them know that they're going to be safe, they're going to be well taken care of, they're going to be challenged academically, and they're going to be taught cutting edge of academic and scholarly information. You know, it's easy to brag about. So on the academic side of it, you make it so easy for us to recruit, and I really appreciate that. I particularly want to thank the coaching staff and for the hard work. I'd say looking at all of the recruiting effort, how it went down, I know this coaching staff can recruit, and they can recruit hard. I'll put them up with some of the best recruiters out there. They did an outstanding job, even though We obviously went home on weekends. We worked all weekend. And so as it comes in college, this signing day is a culmination of a lot of a year's worth of work. And so I'm excited for them and what their accomplishments were. But I'm particularly excited for Ben Baez, our recruiting coordinator. And I'm going to ask Ben to come up and just share a few words about just recruiting now as Azusa Pacific is a Division II member, particularly as now we're a conference champion. And we're ranked in the country. We obviously have big aspirations to become national champions, dominant football program throughout the country, year in and year out. And that's, for us, we're fine with those. And until we can achieve that, we're not resting. So with that, Ben, I wanted to let him have a few words and personally thank him for the amazing job of being the tip of the spear in this whole recruiting effort.
So I wanted to give kind of a picture to everybody in here of what recruiting looks like for us, especially going to the Division II level. Winning conference championship, it's made things, access to information and ability and talent a lot greater than we've ever had in the past. I think we always say the school sells itself. You guys know, you've been a part of this institution, you know how incredible, how special it is, from academics to the private school education, to the atmosphere, to the community. Everything here sells itself, but we always haven't had access to get that athlete on campus because not always being Division II. Since we've made this change, I think it's been great for us to carry the banner of who our school is around. In the spring, our coaching staff, we worked really hard. We were on over 150 high school campuses in the spring in a matter of a month. So we had seven coaches on over 150 high school campuses within 120 miles of our campus right here. So in that exposure alone, you know that kids in this area know what APU is. It used to be that we go into school, we'd have to kind of discuss it. Now we call up student athletes and we say, hey, I'm with Azusa Pacific, and they say, Coach, I'm all ears. I want to hear what you have to say to me. So I think that transition's been great for us. It's been great as a program to see our coaches go out on the recruiting trail, see us really try and compartmentalize this and make this Southern California our home. When we look at our recruiting class, and I know Coach talks about it, you're going to see guys that academically, socially, spiritually are a fit in this community. And we have more talent coming to us than we can even fund. I mean, if we had more, we could do more because the kids, they want to be here. And I think that's it's a great marker of who our university is. They love the place when they come here. Every kid who comes on a trip here does not leave saying anything negative about this program, about this school. They all enjoy it, and our coach has done a great job of getting out there. Even this spring, coming into this fall, coming through the winter, we probably did more home visits this winter than we've done in the past 5 years combined. We're in a lot of homes of people selling what this brand is. And like Coach said, it's been a great thing, an easy thing for us to sell, and it's an incredible thing to be a part of. So I kind of want to set that vision for you guys so you can get how exciting it is to be on our end, to see the student athlete, to see the caliber of student athletes, to see these guys who have offers from all these people in the nation want to stay home in an institution with the moral fabric that it has, with the academic success it has, with the athletic success across the board, all the programs. It's been an incredible and amazing experience for us as a coaching staff, and I expect it to continue to get better. I expect next year we stand up here and we talk about the class being the best class we ever had, and we continue to go in that direction. But that's kind of where it's gone from us in the last 3 years. We're getting pursued a lot more, which has been awesome. It's been great, and I think it's well worth it for this institution, for athletic program as a whole.
Thank you. As far as when you take a recruiting effort that we've done right now and just completed, you had to set out a strategy. And the strategy this year was to replace what was a quality senior class that I think were that rare and distinguished type of person that we always talk about. We're so proud of what they did, leading us to a championship. And then, so as they leave behind what is a very, very fundamentally sound, athletic, cohesive group. We have depth. So we wanted to identify a few things at the mid-year. We brought in 2 transfers. Blake Robertson, a wide receiver from Sacramento State. Feel like he's a young man with 4.3 speed that can take the top off of a coverage. We also wanted to, having graduated, a very good quarterback We end up having Chad Jeffries transferred in from San Diego State, still has 3 years available. So understands our system, understands the gun run system that we like to do. So with that, bringing those two veterans in that have a chance to continue their college career here, but also be a part of this community. One of the things we constantly hear, and this is just a opportunity to brag about our university, and I make no apologies about this press conference bragging about us, okay? This is all about us, and this is all about how great we are. When a four-year transfer comes in here, I think the biggest regret they have is they never came here first. You as a community are so special. You take care of them, you embrace them, you treat them like human beings, which in this day and age of college football where it's so transactional, it's a breath of fresh air. I think a lot of these athletes just get used to being transaction tools. When they come here, they're human beings, and you have a vision for their whole life way beyond college football. So with Chad and with Blake, we're excited for that. Then moving forward, we know this is that the landscape of college football is changing dramatically when it comes to tempo offenses. So one of the things as far as tempo offenses go, and I know one of the tempo offense will constantly keep becoming something more common than it is less common in college football. But you got to have outstanding D-line. And so we added depth to the defensive line. We also wanted to add some depth in the secondary. We wanted to go out and find some key running back to be able to get behind Terrell Watson and bring in a good freshman. As obviously Terrell is a young man who is a next level type of player. We want to be able to add that depth. So going forward, we felt like we added the key depth. We feel like these 11 signees that we had today are going to be able to add to the program in a significant way. We always challenge every freshman that we have, say, hey, we expect you to come in to compete right away, to come in the type of shape that can handle college football. And we also expect our current team just to continue to push it to the next level as they have great visions to be a successful nationally dominant football program. Before we go any further, though, I do want to be able to take a special shout out to our Zoo Nation. What an amazing student support we have from the Zoo. And I think you've created a brand to our university. You've added to the brand of our university where there's a lively excitement, student body experience here. And so that makes it a lot more fun for us as coaches. And obviously our student experience with the stadium, as loud as it is and overflowing and as crowded as it is, I think it just makes it something that's going even better and better. Well, starting off, if I could, maybe start off with in alphabetical order. And he was the first guy to send in his letter of intent today, would be Devin Boston. Devin Boston is a young man who rushed for 2,112 yards and 33 TDs his senior year. The thing about Devin that I appreciate the most is just his character, his family, the commitment he has to being a successful human being. His dad is a military man, a career military man. So having grown up in a military family, I really did appreciate everything that they stood for, and I understand what he's gone through as a young man growing up in that house. And so I'm excited for their family to be a part of us, and I'm really particularly excited for Devin giving us that depth at running back. He's a young man who, obviously from his stats and the film, and by the way, all these highlights are online, so you can click through them for those of you who are watching through the web. You'll see a young man who's a physical runner, a young man who can, when he's in the open field, can break it and through the secondary. He can turn the jets on and not get caught, but you have a 6 foot, 205 pound running back who can handle a lot of carries, and he's a tough guy who takes a few more defensive bodies to bring him down. I know some people particularly are really impressed with this signee. I think what I'm more impressed with is just the person he is, and I'm excited to coach him. Moving on is Kylan Brooks. I talked about adding depth to the defensive line. Kylan's a local product from Charter Oak High School. Kylan is a 6'3", 265-pound defensive lineman. When you watch Kylan's film, you see the value, the type of characteristics as a D lineman that we value. One, he has a motor, plays with his hair on fire, and then you also see is a thick physical body. Uses his hands well, can handle the point of attack very well. In our league particularly, and I think in Division II and generally, is that you play against a lot of very big offensive linemen. And so we need to be able to counter that and be as physical and and be sizable to our own defensive front. And Kylan gives us that type of that presence. So I'm excited for the young man. A little special note about him when he was on his visit. You could just tell a maturity about him. really honored his mom and grandmother well, and by the way, he was just a solid young man on his trip. I really enjoyed my conversation and face-to-face contact. I know the Azusa Pacific community is going to enjoy having him sit in your classes. Moving on is Sakalaya Hungalo. Saka is a young man from McKinley High School in Hawaii. This year particularly, you'll see that we had 3 commits come out of Hawaii, 3 signings out of Hawaii. I haven't played my college football in Hawaii, haven't lived in Hawaii as a kid. We do have some Hawaii connections there, and so it's our recruiting efforts over there were very fruitful. Saka leads us off with bringing some size and physicalness and depth to our offensive line. One of the things I know our offensive line coach, Jackie Slater, says it's a big man's game, and we want to be physical. We want to carry an air of dominance in how we play in the offensive line. And I know this past season, with the rushing that we did in our league, Saka's going to add to that dominant type of presence there. And I know for that young man, he's going to have a chance to really add some depth. And we particularly want him to see him get ready right away to help us win this next season. Moving on is Tevin. Tevin Crawl is a 6'3", 245-pound defensive end, and he has got a motor. This young man is a pass rusher off the edge that you have to identify. You have to game plan against. Tevin is someone who, when you see him play in his film, as you watch it, uses his hands extremely well. Motor doesn't stop running, can play the 3 technique, can play the end. Just an all-around great defensive lineman. I feel like he's got the size and range about him that he can continue to be somebody who can project out well in this league and obviously well in this national picture. But most importantly, as you get to know him in the community, you're going to find this guy has got deep love for Christ, leader, and academic person, cares about it. He is a whole package. He's an Azusa Pacific man for sure, and I know we're going to be happy to have him in our community. Next off is Maki Muti. Maki Muti is a younger talent. You can see by the picture of him, he is a joy to be around. This guy is someone who you'll see another stout 3 technique person, uses his hands well, plays with the kind of motor that we value. When I was meeting with him and his mom in Hawaii, you got a chance to see just someone who has a humility about him that is like no other. You also got to see somebody who is just, when you want to point out as, man, you've got a future, you're someone I want to be around, you're somebody I can't wait to coach. Maki is that kind of guy. His family is outstanding. The coaching there, Coach Nolan, his high school coach, did a great job of just bringing in a talent. He's only played 2 years of college football, and the young man is just 16 right now. So he's great. He's going to come to us at a younger age. He's already he's 6 foot 275, and we expect great things from Maki. Moving on now to Matthew Palmer. I talked about having the ability to play man coverage. In this day and age, a lot of the receivers are getting quite tall, and you have to find yourself taller corners. We always like to have some tall corners in the barn. If you look at our depth chart, we have corners that are in the 5'11" to 6'2" range. Matt comes in as a 6'3" corner. He had 10 interceptions on the year. His productivity was outstanding. We play a lot of man coverage. With Matt, you find that he's a guy who has a confidence at corner to be able to challenge you in the front and to be able to play the press, but also smart enough and savvy enough to be able to play the zones in the way we want him to play. Having him on campus, I think he got a chance to see just how great this community is, how special it is, how the thing I always tell when he came to my office at the end of his visit, just a smile on his face and the readiness to commit on the spot is outstanding. And so I can't wait to have Matt here and his family just to enjoy this place. But he's a guy who we're excited about and adding depth to the corner position. Next off is Kendall Rue. Kendall came from us from Spokane, Washington. Kendall is a physical 6'3", 290-pound defensive tackle. Once again, we talk about being physical on the D-line, having the ability to rotate a lot of D linemen against the tempo offenses. But you see with Kendall is as he plays with his hands well against the offense, great attitude, the kind of edge and attitude that you want when you're playing defensive line. And this guy, when he got on campus, you could tell there was something really special about the young man. You could tell his energy, his hunger, And when he looked me in the eyes and said, "Coach, let's go win it all," I said, "Outstanding, let's go do it." And so I know for him and I, we would love to get to work on it tomorrow, but we'll get him ready here this summer when he comes up. But he is an outstanding physical presence. But you'll see he's a guy that is really hard to move, and he loves the game of football, and so he's going to fit in quite well with our defense. Keyson Roberts back again to the corner position. Keyson is a pure cover corner, and he has the attitude for it, the kind I like. I happen to coach the corners here as a head coach. I make sure I still coach a position. And in coaching corners, you got to have a guy who believes that nobody can beat him. I know Keyson has that belief. He has that edge, that hunger and humility is going to keep him playing great each play. He also returns kicks, so he gives us more of a spatial guy in the special teams area. I know he has gone both ways in offense and defense, but particularly for the cover corner, he has the instincts that you really, just to be honest, you can't coach. And so he has that edge. We like to say that sometimes you're kind of playing in that matrix type of style. You know it's already coming ahead of you. And so I'm excited for Keyson to be able to compete and get after this. And once again, we love to pressure people on defense. And so Keyson has that type of attitude and mindset to be able to let us do that. Evan Rodriguez is out of Heritage High School. He's a tight end H-back. If you know anything about our systems, we employ a tight end H-back quite a bit. We believe that the tight end is it's a tough position to match up with, particularly when against a spread gun offense where the play action, putting a lot of pressure on the linebackers. We needed to find somebody that we felt like can add to our H depth to give us and with our H, we want them to be able to be a downhill presence to stretch it vertically, a physical presence to be able to get the kick out blocks, but also a savvy enough presence to be able to maneuver himself inside the line of scrimmage with all the blocks we had. Evan, with his size, with his athleticism, I think he fits the mold quite well, and so we're excited for this young man to jump in here and learn our system and compete. Moving on here, coming to the last year, Jonah Wataru. Jonah Wataru, he played defensive line at Iolani High School, he's quite large young man. He's 6'3", 295. With Jonah, what I saw with him was a good defensive lineman, but a big body that we're going to move to offensive line. And so he was very eager about that when I proposed that opportunity to him. And so you see that with our offensive line, we're going to be athletic, we're going to be physical, we're going to be hungry. Jonah is going to fit in quite well with Coach Slater and his system. We're excited for his raw talent to be able to teach him the APU way. And you've got essentially a blank slate to say, okay, this is how we do everything from ground zero. And he's a young man. Once again, you're going to find he fits in our community quite well. This guy is a gentleman. He is a scholar. He loves the Lord, and he is excited to be a part of here at Azusa Pacific and can't wait to learn from our academic institution here. Lastly, coming up is Jalen Wyatt. Jalen is a second-generation Azusa Pacific football player. His dad, Jason, had played for us, and so when we came to the home visit, I think he had heard, and he's grown up, just how special this institution is. When he came on the visit, I think is when he put him over the top and said, man, this is the place for me. It's one thing to constantly hear about it, but it's another thing when you can walk along the halls, the libraries, the cafeterias, the dormitories, and for some people, it's like, I can't believe this is true. People are smiling, they're happy, they're engaging, everyone's friendly. It's amazing what this university is, and I think we take it for granted sometimes being in here every day, but we are around some amazing quality people, and Jalen is going to add to that. Jalen is a dominant D lineman, someone who's got a motor, someone who we believe has got a very high ceiling about him. He's got a lot of room to still put on more weight and strength, but he's right now at 6'2", 245. You're seeing somebody that's going to be a very special young man. He's also a dual athlete, and he will compete in track as well. So you're finding somebody who will get the full AP experience. So with that, I think I'm very proud of this class. Once again, I'm very proud of the coaching staff of putting this together. I'm very proud of the community of how we're just us, but it sells very well. This is a brand that is very strong, but yet infectious. When you can come on the campus and you get these young men who never are around this many people who care. I'm telling you, I applaud the community for who they are. And so for our job, as we get a chance to go take our show on the road across the country to play college football, wear the Azusa Pacific name across our chest, we're very proud of that. And so these young men coming in, I'm expecting great things from them off the field and on the field. And with that, I want to open up to any questions.
Yeah, first of all, any of the media here have any questions? First off, I've got a few here that I can get us started with. So first one, it's actually from Steve Ramirez, San Gabriel Valley Tribune. He's not able to be here, but he sent in that question. What were your position goals for this class, and how did you feel you met them today?
Steve, where you at, man? Love you. We got to get you out here more. Steve, let me tell you what. We said D-line, secondary. We said we need to find a running back. We need to find the H-back. And so with the wide receiver that we brought in at the midterm, I think we answered ours very well. So as we close this class up today, as we end up getting the last facts across, we felt like our needs were answered, and we're gonna continue to finish up some recruiting efforts here as we carry the weeks through, and as we continue to finish spring football. But for the most part, we felt what we targeted, we achieved, and so we're excited about this class.
And also, again, encourage people, if you have a question for Coach Santa Cruz and you're watching at home, use the hashtag APU Signing Day. We are checking that. Next question. After you touched on it in the introduction, last year's class paid immediate dividends down the road with some guys who redshirted this past year. So you had some immediate dividends, you have some promise down the road. Mm-hmm. Do you envision this group that comes in today making that same kind of impact?
Yes, and because when we look them in the eye and we recruit them and we try to get to know them, we want to know that there's someone who's going to compete. Will they play a lot? I don't know yet, but the impact is going to be there. We expect them to impact by being a great teammate. We expect them to impact by being an extremely hard worker. We impact by having that hunger and humility that makes this team successful. As far as on the field, we don't have a policy that we have to redshirt freshmen. As a matter of fact, we say you'll redshirt yourself. We'll never put you in a position that where you're out there, you're not ready for the game. College football, I don't care what high school you're coming from, is a significant jump. Azusa Pacific football is that significant jump. The speed of it, the physicality of it, the competition we play, it is significant. And for some, the learning curve is just a little bit, takes a little longer to get through. For others, we'll give them something that they can just be very good at in the very beginning as they expand their role here. But well, we ask and we expect every guy out there, and I'm talking to you right now, get in the weight room, get running, get after it. I'm expecting you to get ready to go here when you show up and report to camp.
Okay, next question. With the conference title this year, when you're out recruiting, how much does it help to be able to show that tangible payoff both on and off the field? Success on the field, success off the field with that GNAC title under your belt that you haven't had before.
Yeah, I think it goes back to just the motivation of young people today, and it's anybody, is, we can talk about how great we treat people, but all they can do is window shop. And that's, there's nothing else they can do. They window shop, but when you have the championship under your belt, they see is that your plan is working. And they want to be a part of something that they know they're stepping into, hey, it works. There's a plan. There's success happening there. They don't want to step into dysfunction. A lot of these young people are coming from a lot of dysfunction, so they're looking for a path. There's a winning edge there because they want to grow up and they want to continue to find that next level of the edge. So it does have a significant impact in recruiting. I think Coach Byes alluded to that earlier. But then once they're here, then they really get to see this is amazing. We kind of talk about our storefront right now may be perceived a little bit smaller because as our brand is expanding in the world. But once they step through, they're finding a boutique experience where it's tailored to them, and they can't find it anywhere else. I mean, this is rare and distinguished. These professors, this community. So we got to show as much window dressing to let them know the excellence that's behind it, and that's the winning shows that. And so with our facilities, with uniforms, with the people, all we can do for the next generation coming up is show them the window dressing. The championship helps that.
And then you talked about expanding the brand. Pending NCAA membership committee approval this July, Azusa Pacific is going to be eligible for NCAA playoffs this coming season. You've got a few players that are signed that are state champions, CIF champions. How did the players respond to the aspect of being able to compete for championships as you went through the recruiting process this year?
You know, everyone we sign, they want to be the best. And I tell them, I like that about you. And we tell them, so do we. And we always say we're not asking permission to be the best. Putting the Azusa Pacific brand on now a national championship stage, why not us? Nothing is going to stop us. So now that they know is that they can compete in college football and be one of those rare few that host up a true national championship trophy, that excites them. So for us, we've got a lot of work to do, but the opportunity's there. So it's on us. So you have full access to be able to be the best at the last game of the year, national champion, hosting that trophy up. That's just as much our opportunity as anybody else's.
And the next step for you after recruiting day, you have spring football coming up. What kinds of developments do you hope take place with your team?
Well, spring football is about evaluating talent. It's about learning your schemes. It's about continuing to develop your techniques. So what we set goals out for spring football, we essentially start over. And one thing our coaching staff does a very good job, and the coordinators particularly do an outstanding job of, is taking the systems, putting them, compartmentalizing them in a way that is a structured academic manner, so that we take Bloom's taxonomy of learning, and we just start from ground zero, and we take all the way through with spring ball. So for us, at the end of spring football, we are essentially going to say, you have learned the fundamentals of our system, and you're walking into the summertime with, once again, sharpening your sword with your techniques, but obviously having a very good fundamental working knowledge of our systems. And that's really all the goals you can do with spring ball. Obviously, our guys in the weight room right now, we want to get bigger and stronger faster, like everybody else in the country. But right now, where we're at, our next step is to make sure our team is fundamentally sound with our systems.
Okay, question?
So if you have a number of key defensive players that graduated, but you picked up a lot of defensive players on the line today today, so how can these players, these defensive players, really contribute to that defense, that strong defense that you guys contribute to?
Yeah, defense is something we're really proud of. But what they can do right now, day one, we talk about is finish well with high school, and then graduate academically, get everything on point. Athletically, be the full athlete. There isn't necessarily a weight category we want to be them. We want them just to be the best athlete they can be. But as they come in, they're going to, like with spring football, they're going to be behind. And so we need them to come in and say, hey, I'm going to learn from ground zero. The humility part is always big for a freshman, because you're leaving what is the big fish in a small pond, and now you're entering a huge ocean with a lot of sharks. And so how quickly you can adapt, and one thing we do is we mentor everyone. There are no cliques in our program. We're going to take every freshman under our wing. We're going to make sure they can learn and be appreciated and valued in a safe way. And so that's why I think our freshmen learn faster here, to be honest with you. We don't tolerate any hazing, and our upperclassmen immediately embrace the underclassmen and just help them. And then once again, back to the community. The community here is so different that, I've been around college football enough, and having played college football, most freshmen, when they go in, aren't finding an upper class of veterans looking to help mentor them. You're finding them just saying, hey, learn it on your own, like I did. So that's why our freshmen, they come in here and they feel appreciated right away. They learn faster. I think their families feel better about them being here because they're coming to a place that they know, hey, I'm in probably the best place I've possibly been in years. This is great. So they have to learn. They got to come ready to go. And there's no getting around how much of a shock it's going to be playing college football. But we help them through that and walk them through the shock as they go through it, because they'll make it through like everybody else does.
All right, Coach. Today's a very exciting day for you guys, obviously. What are the next 7 months going to be like for you? You got 7 months and a day till you kick off another game. How difficult is it to wait that out?
I don't think it's difficult to wait it out because I know it comes fast enough. It's more of how difficult is it to not make to make sure the team makes the most of each day. We have a philosophy here of just win today, that we say, hey, just all we have is today. Let's make sure we do everything possible to win this one day. So what we're trying to do right now is really increase our capacity as a football program, and increase our capacity as athletes. And we all know this, is that capacity really only comes through stress. So we're trying to balance the right amount of stress as we stretch ourselves athletically, physically, schematically, while not breaking it too. So it's just a really an everyday thing. I'm gonna myself personally, I'm gonna enjoy coaching this team, being with them in the weight room, being out there where they're running and enjoying them, and watching everything we do just with the people. And so now that recruiting is the heavy part is essentially done, it's my chance to really enjoy the pureness of football, which is hanging out with the football players, coaching them, and just being around them. So we're going to value that. Obviously, we've got a very nationally known, formidable opponent coming to our place to open it up, and so that we're going to make ourselves prepared to be a nationally known, formidable opponent for that week too. So, two head-to-head things, and we're going to get ourselves ready to go best we can. And I think we're doing a great job thus far. So.
Any other questions?
Coach, you talked about some connections you have in Hawaii. I'm wondering, beyond those, is there any way that our affiliation with the Pac-West, although not our football conference,
Right.
helps us with the growth in interest in Hawaii?
Yeah, I think when I was over there this time, you saw the brand of Azusa Pacific, the familiarity of it. With obviously our great basketball team, great volleyball teams, all of our great sports. So we're an amazing athletic department. I mean, you aren't going to find this many great coaches in one spot. You're going to find this many great student athletes in one spot. When they travel to the islands, the chance wherever their field, the court that they're competing on, the fans see it, and fans see something significantly different. And I think that goes back to this is why our brand is so powerful. And here's why some of the recruits go, I never knew you were this big. And I said, well, we're the best kept secret, and I apologize for us keeping it so secret. We're going to get it out there even more, but our sports program's getting out there. They walk away from a quarter field, and the fans are going, man, there's just something different. The way the days we live in, we stand out even more. And there's something pure, there's something refreshing, the way our coaches are, the way our athletes are. The islands are loving Azusa Pacific University, and that's because we travel there with all our other sports. So might as well go recruit over there now, too.
Any other questions? All right, well, thank you all for attending. Thank you for watching. And this was 2014 National Football National Signing Day. Thank you.